family. Welcome back to Dark Woke, your direct link to all things politics, comedy, and culture. I am your host, Janaya Future Khan, champ yapper and frequent nuisance in the activist and comedy worlds. Let's get dialed in. Just before we jump, Dark Woke is a self-funded, self-produced show. We're on Patreon/Dark Woke. I am so grateful for all the support and for you just taking the time to listen. All right. Yes, we're going to be getting into that ridiculous announcement that Donald Trump made regarding the Gaza Strip. But what is the best way to create the overview for this show? Psycho killers. Qu'est-ce? Yes, I cannot sing, and yes, we are going to be talking about what is it? What is it? We got psycho killers running the government. So I took some initiative for us, right? Because we're going to fight. We're going to fight and we're going to win. But we can dream, can't we? Like, we can dream. I came up with some possible dream career paths for us for 2025. I took the liberty. I hope you'll give it real consideration, okay? So I learned a new term today called johatsu. This is in Japan. It refers to people who disappear due to pressures like failed marriages, debt, and job loss. I think we can include fascism, perhaps. You know, just add a tier to that. So these people just like abandon their lives and live anonymously off the grid. Does anybody want to go? Will you go with me? I don't want to go. I don't want to do it by myself. I don't want to go by myself. But we could go together because this fucking sucks balls. This sucks. I hate it here. I hate it here. We've got everything in front of us. It's true. So it's just a feeling. But, you know, they got infrastructure over there for johatsu. Like in Japan, they have something called night movers. And night movers assist them from completely vanishing from their lives. And I was like, oh my God. Doesn't that, when I said that, didn't you get like a very cheap thrill? Just vanishing from your life? Okay. Ooh. I'm like, I found like, you know, in my head, I was like, what are some of the ways that we could just go, right? Leave a little mystery, a little intrigue. We got missing hiker. They will stop looking after about a week or two. In this, you know what? In this media landscape, we won't even get a soundbite, okay? Disappeared at sea, very, very plausible option. Here for that. Vanish into a volcano. Nobody's looking in there, right? Have a little rope somebody's holding on to on the other side. We're good. I have got us covered. We can just hit johatsu whenever we just disappear. It's, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. No. Couple of quick hits before we get into our core story today. You know, it was just like anytime I get overwhelmed or whatever, I just remember that despite the whole media frenzy around the tariffs, you know, we talked about that. We had that episode. We had to bring that up. Part of the reason why it's not worth that much coverage is because how real it is so up in the air. We are literally being flooded, and I'm going to be talking about that because this is everything that's happening is part of the same story for the same purposes, right? So yesterday we identified that the reason why things are happening the way they are is A, because Musk is a whiny little bitch boy, and Donald Trump is a pampered, arrogant bitch boy. That is weirdly likable to a lot of people. I don't think that's true of Elon Musk. Right? Because like the Donald Trump that talks on podcasts, and that makes sense. This is a guy that people like. This is a guy that people, the vast majority of people, I would dare argue, most of us don't know. That's the version of Donald Trump that they see. They don't see the one at these podiums yapping at these rallies for 4 to 12 hours, saying absolutely nothing and being really upset about a bunch of shit. But just remember that for all that he talked about the tariffs in Canada and Mexico and then was like, I beat them. No, nigga, you got Eiffel Towered by Canada and Mexico on US, like you got Eiffel Towered on trade in the US. Like, that's what happened. He said, "Oh, I made Scheinbaum." Remember, this is like one of the President Scheinbaum of Mexico, one of the most beloved world leaders at this point. Somebody that a place that we should be looking to, right? As we see those major shifts happening in that country. She's beloved the world over. He was like, "I got her to send 10,000 troops to the border." Nigga, it used to be 15,000, you simple bitch. Oh my God. You got played. So let's make sure that they keep getting played and we don't. Just before we tap into the big story, I did see, because we got the Super Bowl coming up, where there's one black quarterback and one not black quarterback. They both are, but if you know, you know. Anyway, the NFL is going to remove its end racism messaging in the end zone ahead of the Super Bowl. And I got to tell you, I'm just gutted. Because we all know that the main thing that was keeping racism at bay was acrylic latex water-based paint and stencils. Like, without that anti-racism rune, it's over for us. Like, where I do find it very funny though that this is happening at the exact same time when this is the blackest Super Bowl ever. Like, just both quarterbacks, although one is, I did air quotes there. No, it's about your belief system and more than it is your tones. But having Kendrick run the Super Bowl halftime show, like, this is as black. This is as black as it's ever going to get. And I'll tell you something. I much prefer this reality. Like, I much prefer, like, say, a black agenda, right? That looks at healthcare and education and all of these things, like something that's derived from black liberation politics, for example. So again, a black agenda versus a spray painted, set of words on a wall. It's not that it's meaningless, right? It's just that cultural relevance does not equal structural or systemic change. And I would much have one than the other. Like, if we lived in a more equitable society, we wouldn't need to be yapping about all this shit the way that we do. But, I've lived through the things where I've, seen the signs, and God, I've been to Portland, so it's just everywhere. But then you don't see no black people anywhere. So it's just like, what's the point? Anyway, yeah, NFL, terrible stuff. We'll never recover. Okay, so in yesterday's episode, I mentioned that we were going to talk about sort of the actionable items that we could take. And then we got hit with this shit today, where Donald Trump says, right, that the official position of the United States government is that Palestinians should leave Palestine completely, and that the United States will occupy that strip of land, the Gaza Strip. So I'm going to be really clear. There are about 2 million Palestinians in Gaza. You're going to just displace them. And for one, it just made me laugh. And I'm like, oh, you have clearly never met a fucking Palestinian in your life. Them niggas not going nowhere. Those are gangsters. They have bled and died and fought for that fucking land. They love that land the way that only people who are really from there can. Like, to put it in perspective, right? Let me just put it in perspective. Israel is ranked 15th in the world in terms of its militaristic might. Okay, doesn't sound like a lot, but when you realize that there's like 145 upwards of that or something like that, you're like, oh, okay. They have a massive military arsenal. They're armed with the latest offensive technology. They're bankrolled by America. And in the past 77 years have been unable to see through completely their agenda. Why? Because the Palestinian people are not fucking pushovers, and because they have successfully resisted every effort to erase and eradicate them for the better part of 77 years, not just because they love their land, they love their home. But they're fighting for something. They're fighting for meaning. That's a beautiful thing. They're fighting for love. Whereas Israel, too often, maybe all the time, is fighting from fear and economic gain. You're always going to fold in the face of that. So what Donald Trump is proposing is turning a proxy war with the entirety of the Middle East, right, into an all-out war. Saudi Arabia already put out a statement. It's like 4 a.m. at their time, and there's a statement coming out of, Riyadh being like, nah. But before we really get into it, because I'm going to play some of these clips right now, I want to frame this. I want to frame this because there's going to be this moment of like, oh my God, we've got to respond to this. This is insane. We've got to do something about this. But just remember that this week it was the tariffs. Then it was taking the trans passports away. Then it was we're gonna build these massive detention centers in Guantanamo Bay. And to what extent all of these things will happen, we don't know, right? They're happening on a very small scale, but this is an ambitious, disgusting, horrendous agenda that is still very much in its nascent stages. So how do we keep up? How do we protect people? What do we do? Well, first, it's about understanding what's happening. We now know their goal. Their goal, the main goal out of all of these chodes, these fucking ugly chodes, is to see through a renewal of the 2017 tax breaks that gave them $4 trillion collectively. Bezos, Musk, Zuckerberg, Trump, Thiel, right? Andreessen, all of these fucking windbags, these fucking scrotum-faced losers, right? They want us to cover the spread, so they're attacking everything on the federal docket, every type of federal funding, federal programming, right? Those are the actions that they've taken directly. But there's just been, and people are being impacted on, in all of this, right? It's not like these are just empty words, right? I know that there's several stories of trans folks who have tried to get their passport renewed in California and have experienced trouble with that because they formerly had the X, right? I know that there have already been migrants who have been deported. I also know that some of them have just come back, right? Because, yeah, niggas got to do what they got to do. So the follow through on this has really yet to be seen. And yes, we have to take action. But why are we being inundated with this? I'm going to play a clip, and this is of Ezra Klein, and it's from his show. And so at first you'll hear Ezra Klein talking, and then you'll hear Steve Bannon talking. Steve Bannon, the man that is just walking syphilis, he, in many ways, was the architect behind the 2016 Trump success, right? But he was just he was too odious for them. In the cult of egomaniacs and white fascistic egomaniacs, but he is very much a white nationalist, very much a white supremacist, and at different points in time, I have felt like he's much smarter than anyone would want to believe, and he has been alienated from the Trump administration directly, but he's got fingers on everything. Ugh, yuck. Anyway, I want to play this clip briefly because it demonstrates clearly what is happening and why.
If you want to understand the first weeks of the second Trump administration, go back and listen to what Steve Bannon told PBS's Frontline in 2019.
The opposition party is the media. And the media can only, because they're dumb and they're lazy, they can only focus on one thing at a time. All we have to do is flood the zone. Every day we hit them with 3 things. They'll bite on one and we'll get all of our stuff done. Bang, bang, bang.
Did that piss you off? Because it pissed me off. Flood the zone. All we got to do is say we're doing these 3 things. The media will fixate on one of them. And then we see through our agenda, bang, bang, bang.
These guys will never be able to recover, but we got to start with muzzle velocity. So it's got to start, it's got to hammer, it's got muzzle velocity.
Muzzle velocity.
Muzzle velocity. I did look it up. It's what it sounds like. I was just like, this sounded very Dr. Seussy. Muzzles around the mouth, velocity.
Bannon's insight there is real. Focus is a fundamental substance of democracy. It is particularly the substance of opposition. People largely learn of what the government is doing through the media. So if you overwhelm the media,
a record-setting number of executive orders.
Everybody pardoned. Violence, non-violence.
Including assaulting police officers.
Birthright citizenship.
We live in unprecedented times right now.
If you keep it moving from one thing to the next.
That right there was, you just, they're playing different media hits, you know, running through the hearing and everything else. Musk very clearly doing the fucking Nazi salute, which is indisputably a Nazi salute.
So far, so good.
Is this legal?
If you give it too many places it needs to look.
So they go through essentially a series, right, of different clips and media hits, and we don't need to sort of get into it much further than that. But are you starting to notice a trend? Are you starting to notice a real trend of how this government is operating and why? There's a method to the madness. And I'll tell you something, it's working. It's really, really working. A lot of people I know are incredibly overwhelmed. They're scared, they're exhausted. And like I said, right now, this is a moment where we have to breathe and download information. Really look at the political landscape and keep our anxiety in check. Remember that the cure for anxiety is action. Inaction creates the conditions for anxiety. It grows. It talks to you. It takes over, and we have got to be able to talk back to our anxieties, our fears. They are valid, right? But feelings are not facts. I sat with that for a minute today, right? And I'm going to hit us with something else. You know, I'm going to hit us with something else. And this is Donald Trump talking about his intentions for Palestine and for Gaza. So this is directly from the New York Times. And, I mean, it's gross. So brace yourself,
The U.S.
right?
will take over the...
Oh, sorry. I wanted to make it big. Oh, here we go. This is what I want to do. So he's just started out. He's there. He's standing with Netanyahu. And, yeah, he's talking to the U.S. media, and there is Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel standing right across from him.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the...
I'm furious. I do see it bringing a great stability to that part of the Middle East. I'm going to keep playing it because we're almost done.
The Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East.
President Trump is taking it to a much higher level.
So now here is Benjamin Netanyahu, one of the most evil, disgusting war criminals walking around this here planet, praising Donald Trump. Because what's clear is they're like, we are working together on this, right? We're partners in this.
He sees a different future for that piece of land that has been the focus of so much terrorism, so many.
It's the focus of so much terrorism. That's been the focus of so much terrorism. He says the focus of so much terrorism, so many attacks against us. So many attacks against us. There are no Palestinian people weighing in on this. There's no Muslims weighing in, no Arabs. No. Just this singular perspective, this Western one that has been shoved down our throats across social media, across legacy media, and continues to do so as Israel's influence on American Congress, on its treasury, on its foreign policy. It's very plain to see. It's plain as day. Not only has this not changed under this new administration, I dare say that the influence of Israel has absolutely increased. We will be talking about that in a moment. I'm going to let this fucking... bit my mind. I'm just gonna hit play. Nothing. I said. I was gonna go too far there for sure.
So many trials and so many tribulations. He has a different idea. And I think it's worth paying attention to this. We're talking about it. He's exploring it with his people, with his staff. I think it's something that could change history.
The U.S.
Oh, do you? Do you think it's something that could change history? Ugh, what a disgusting human being. Now, look, I want to take a pause for a minute because I want to take a pause right here because I've already seen it. It's going to keep happening, and that's okay. We will get through it, but I've already seen it. So all you people who said not to vote for Kamala Harris, are you satisfied now? Are you happy now? Just a bunch of fucking dorks yapping and yammering. If that is your first response, right? I understand it, and it is very fucking stupid if it is your first response. You are so out of line. And I don't mean out of line like you've crossed the line. I mean, you're not aligned at all. I understand the frustration. I understand the impulse. And look, it was a situation, right? And many of you, if not all of you, know, I made a very strong case for why I believe people should vote for Kamala Harris. And that it couldn't happen in a bubble, and it needed to be aligned with all of these other organizing things. Blah, 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 blah. There's a video on IG about it. I don't want to belabor the fact too much. But what was clear, as somebody who's been to Palestine, has been in Israel, as somebody who has been in this work for over a decade, as somebody who has deep relationships with Palestinian people, some of whom still continue to live in Palestine and have, done work with different Palestinian-centered organizations and entities, I can tell you that what happened on October 7th, 2023 was as a direct result of Trump's influence during his first administration, where he broke decades of precedent. Now, does that mean that there wasn't an occupation already there? There was absolutely, it was rapacious and disgusting and awful. But when that precedent sort of breaks and there's nothing there to stop the floodgates, 40,000 people died. In a way, based on, how apartheid works, there was only a matter of time. People must resist apartheid. The human spirit cannot be extinguished. It's the wonderful, redeeming thing about us, right? But during that time, there are a lot of folks who said, I can't vote for moral reasons, and morality actually has nothing to do in the political world. Fuck off with your morals. Morals are personal things. You can keep them for you, but we are bound by values and principles, right? That's it. Certain types of non-negotiables. And one of those things is that we have to stop the consolidation of power across the right at every single fucking opportunity. And if there are things that we need that we do not have, we will fight for them. But we get to choose who our enemies are. That being said, I want to be very clear about this. Even if every single person who abstained from voting or who chose to be undecided or whatever, right, across the liberals to progressives and all the way across the left, if every single one of them voted, they wouldn't have changed a single fucking thing. They are not the reason why we lost this election, and I find it very hard to sit back and judge the position. To me, it was more of a lack of experience, and there was some moral, waxing poetic on their own personal morality. It was a bit of a jerk-off session for some. And I know what that's like. I kind of had some of, those experiences myself when I was younger. But ideally you age out of that when you're fucking 21, which is when it happened to me. I still remember my friend did a play. Oh God, I'm so embarrassed. My friend did a play. And that's not, we weren't close, but still, the community was there. She'd put all this work into it. And my first question, right? Not congratulations, but my first question at the fucking ripe age of 21 was like, what was your thought process for doing this in a recently gentrified neighborhood? Right? It's like, shut the fuck up. But right now, right? So yeah, there was a bit of a circle jerk of morality. but it was from lack of experience, as I see it. So to then be in this moment where I'm seeing a lot of people who voted saying, "Are you fucking happy now? Do you see? Shut up! Shut the fuck up! Shut up! Why are we still looking at each other when it's this? It's up. Why are we like literally millions of people's lives could be on the line and we haven't learned a goddamn thing? Shut up! There is no, first of all, there's no moral superiority in any of this, and it's very hard to point to a clear right move when we live in what Bell Hooks might refer to as an imperialist, white supremacist, Christian, capitalist, heteropatriarchy, or something like that, right? It's really hard to say, well, this is exactly the right thing. No, it means coalitions, it means negotiations, it means compromises, it means, a tolerance for things that wouldn't typically be our choice. But it should never descend into fascism, and it should never, nobody has the moral high ground here. No one who lives in America or who lives in the West has any kind of moral high ground. And also, I don't even know why we'd want to occupy that. Isn't it lonely up there where you're, pure? Yuck. No thanks. So the question is, what is Donald Trump's position? Like, what is he saying he's going to do with the people of Gaza, right? That was asked. So this was his response.
Say it. Go ahead, please.
Just to follow up on what you were saying about the Gazans leaving Gaza, going to other countries. One, where exactly are you suggesting that they should go? And two, are you saying they should return after it's rebuilt? And if not, who do you envision living there?
I envision people living there, the world's people.
Oh my God.
I think you'll make that into an international, unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable. And I think the entire world.
And you might recall that during the lead up of the election, when the debate was still raging, that Donald Trump had said several times over that there was beautiful oceanfront properties over there, right? There's so many fucking planes going over my head right now. I'm like, when did the flight path change? Sorry, this has nothing to do with it. But with everything that happened, you hear some planes these days and you're like, all right, ugh. But he was talking about the beautiful oceanfront properties. So this is very consistent with what he alluded to as he was still running his campaign against Kamala Harris.
Representatives from all over the world will be there, and they'll live there. Palestinians also. Palestinians will live there. Many people will live there. But
many people.
They've tried the other, and they've tried it for decades and decades and decades. It's not going to work. It didn't work. It will never work. And you have to learn from history. History has, just can't let it keep repeating itself. We have an opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal.
All right, that's enough. So what he's saying is, we're going to take it, and then they're going to go wherever they're going. We're going to find another place for them to live. Some of them can come back if they want to, but we're going to find another place. It's going to be somewhere out of the way. It'll look nice. It'll be fresh, right? He goes on to say this. Hold on, I'll just play it right quick.
Continue to press for this idea that Jordan and Egypt take Palestinians from Gaza.
Yeah, I would like to see Jordan. I'd like to see Egypt.
Did you hear that? I'd like to see Jordan or Egypt take these Palestinians.
Take some look. The Gaza thing has not worked. It's never worked. And I feel very differently about Gaza than a lot of people. I think they should get a good, fresh, beautiful piece of land, and we get some people to put up the money to build it and make it nice and make it habitable and enjoyable and make it a home.
They don't want to leave, though. Palestinians say they don't want to leave.
I don't know how they could want to stay.
Do you see that? What if they don't want to leave? I can't imagine why they would want to stay. The reason why I'm playing these clips, right, is because we have been so inundated with information and with all of these wild experiences in the past. I mean, literally, we had a federal fiduciary collapse, right? Or freeze, anyway. Is in these questions, right, when Donald Trump is being questioned on this, when he's being challenged on this, he's got responses and he's got answers. And these moments really allude to what is serious and what is not serious, right? When he was asked about the tariffs, he really couldn't come up with anything substantive to say about how the economy would run. Should it be impacted this way? Oh, it's just going to be good. It's just going to be good. Here he's saying things that are similar. But the fact that he's the positions that he's taking on this does suggest to me there's some level of seriousness. The other thing is you always got to look at the money side of it. There's big money in real estate and in development. Israel also wants this. They have the most powerful lobby in the country. They have massive influence on Congress. And this is where I want to bring us home, right? We have plays here. There are several plays. And right now we're getting pulled in every direction you could possibly imagine. And, I've talked yesterday about choosing like 1 to 3 issue areas to become a bit of an expert in or take some action on. But I want to be really clear about something, right? This is a rare moment for the American left and the American right. Because how are you going to take that land? You need soldiers. You need American soldiers, which means you're putting, I'm going to use very patrioty language, but just hear me out, okay? You got to send American soldiers, right? And remember, the American military's numbers are fairly low right now relative to what they used to be. You were the guy who ran on ending America's forever wars. Pulling the U.S. soldiers out of Afghanistan was a fucking disaster. Iraq was a fucking disaster. It's always a disaster. They always never know what the fuck they're doing over there and always underestimate Muslims and Arab people. And the fact that they are just people like us and also have dreams and beliefs and will fight for the things that they love and will fight for their fucking culture. American imperialism is just one kind of one manifest destiny, right? There's tons across the world. So you're going to take American soldiers, you're going to send them to the Middle East again to annex this portion of one of the most brutalized populations on the planet. And there's been a major shift, okay? And I'm going to add a caveat because it does matter, this caveat. There's been a major shift across the American right. They're very, very anti-Israel. I want to be clear. A lot of them are also anti-Semitic. So that's a line that we can't cross. And this is where the hardship of coalitions really matter, right? This is where we get tested. But there's a moment here where we actually can work together to stop. Part of why, it was illegal and all the other things that they did, because there is in terms of the federal freeze, because they are incompetent. They don't know what they're doing. But part of why it rectified itself so quickly is because of the outrage. Trump still desperately needs to be liked. Elon Musk, I think, is more invested in money right now, but he also desperately needs to be liked. These are egomaniacs, right? So if there's a moment where we can actually say Trump is the Israel first president, you're the Israel first president, that framing will infuriate him. They're talking about the Riviera of the Middle East. It's like, yeah, you want fucking Palestinian Mar-a-Lago? Go, and I think Nancy Mace, that fucking slack-jawed, okay, nope, Janaya, don't do it. Don't do it. You be a good boy. You be nice. Nancy Mace, that bitch, that raggedy bitch, she was like, I want a Mar-a-Lago in Gaza or some shit like that. Do you know what I mean? A Trump Tower. Go fuck yourself. It's gross, but that's it. We're at a point right now, right? You're the guy who said I ran on groceries and won. You haven't moved a single fucking thing. Everything is more expensive than ever, right? You are the guy who said that you were going to invest in America. So the fact that developing land in Israel in your first 100 days, right, that's a priority for you. This is a moment for us to actually squeeze them in the middle, like just the fucking disgusting pimples that they are. And you know what? Pimples are very natural. So I don't want to hate on pimples because honestly, they can be kind of fashion sometimes. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Just squeeze them. Put the squeeze on them, make it hard for them. And trust me, Without a blue pill, they have no idea what that's like anymore. Like we have got to make everything difficult. Because it's not just Trump. It's not just Trump. Like Peter Thiel, right? The billionaire who put J.D. Vance in the seat that he's in, the billionaire who gave Musk all these, like, the names of half these, like, little boys that they're working to steal America's checkbook, right? He himself doesn't question what Israel does with their resources. Shit, I did say this was going to be a shorter episode. I said it to myself. I know I've been getting too yappy. It's just like this, they're moving so fast. And that's the whole point. But I hope we're able to cut through the BS and cut through the bullshit and see what's actually going on here. I want to play this clip really, really quickly, and it's of Peter Thiel, and he's being questioned about AI technologies that he develops, right, in Palantir, whatever, that security company that he has. Because as I mentioned yesterday, it's the defense contracts that make the buco bucks. So this is him admitting that he has no fucking clue what Israel does, and he doesn't question them ever.
So what do you think about the use of artificial intelligence or lavender by the IDF in identifying Hamas targets?
Look, I'm not.
Brace yourself. It's going to be like this for the next few seconds. I want to remind you that this is the guy we're losing to right now.
Without going into all the I'm not on top of all the details of what's going on in Israel because my bias is to defer to Israel.
And this is a fago, by the way. Okay, this is what I mean. I don't give a fuck about identity. This is a fago. Yeah.
It's not for us to second guess everything, and I believe that broadly the IDF gets to decide what it wants to do, and that
it's not up to us. It's broadly their right.
In the right, and that's sort of the perspective I come back to.
So
that was extreme loser, but that's extreme loser behavior. Do we understand that? So these are the guys, and they're not focusing. They're not putting any money or resources into the public education system or lunch programs for American kids. No. They want to work on Israel's agenda. You're the Israel first president. That's it, right? We stopped the buck at the anti-Semitism part because fuck that noise. But we can stop a pro-Israel agenda. We can stop Israel's agenda. We can stop Israel's continued investment in genocide against the Palestinian people by creating such a fucking clamor here with for the world's shortest coalition. This is why I need to be on social media more. I know, because I'm not taking these big swings the way I need to make this make sense. This is me yapping to myself. Don't worry. I am making the shifts internally so that I'm just not a content first person, but there is a role that social media can play. And I think I'll wrap it here. Because I did say I was going to tap into that last question, what some of the Democrats were doing. So, the use of social media, I've been thinking about it. And again, part of it is in educating ourselves and choosing our champions. AOC mentioned in yesterday's, in her live, right, that there are electoral interventions to pay attention to, even if they're long shots. Of course, we know that the Republicans have a full sweep of everything, but they've got their, the rep majority in the House. But because of who's been appointed, et cetera, there will be a special election, or two special elections really on April 1st in Florida. Something to pay attention to. There are ways that she outlined that, where work could happen, like on the electoral level, on palm cards, on trainings, right? The need to participate in state legislature, that type of stuff. My thing is break them out, draw them out, break them away from each other, lure them out. As soon as one guy sticks his neck out too far, that's it. And before you say, well, why would I learn about electoral politics when it's already so corrupt? Listen, when I went to Color of Change to learn how to fight corporations, because they were literally killing us. They're so effective. Right? They're buying up different, and how lobbies work and these shadow lobby groups work to see through their agendas. I went to Color of Change and I stayed there for 2 years to learn how to fight corporations. I wasn't suddenly buying into corporate America. That's a very stupid position to take, right? I don't want to learn about a system inherently corrupt. Okay. It's where we live, right? It's where we live. The one piece of information I want to end with is that, AOC did give some light to why the Democrats had a delayed response. And it's because Donald Trump waited until Congress had adjourned their session before starting this whole shit show. Psycho killers. Qu'est-ce, right? This is how they are moving their agenda forward. They waited till every motherfucker got on a plane to go home, and that's when they moved. They are playing checkers very well. I don't believe these niggas have chess moves, but they're playing checkers very, very well. And we are still so focused on each other, even now, that we're not coming together in the ways that we need. But I believe in us. We have time. We're going to get this shit right. I promise you. I'm seeing the shifts already, but we've all got to take up our role in facilitating those shifts. All of us. We all have a role to play in this. I want to end with Elizabeth Warren just yapping a bit. And I say that very poetically because I fuck with her so hard. I don't care. Yeah. She's a part of the Democratic establishment. Okay, but she's not an establishment Dem. And I fuck with her so hard. I really do. You get me one of them haircuts on a white woman and it's game over. They are about that business. I'm going to just fire you up with a couple of words from her before we go.
I just want to be clear about what's going on here. The system that makes sure that your granddad gets his Social Security check, the system that makes sure that your mom's doctor gets Medicare payment to cover her medical appointment, and the system that makes sure that you get the tax refund that you're owed has been taken over by Elon Musk. And every organization from your state government that uses federal money on that bridge project to the local Head Start that takes care of little kids while their mommies and daddies go to work is now at the mercy of Elon Musk.
She's had it. Right. I just wanted to play that little clip so that we could be reminded that there are people that we ally and can ally ourselves with. And the reason why is because, and I'm if some of you feel it, I've been that way too. Electoral politics has not been my bag. I've not fucked with it like that, right? For lots of different reasons. But we can't not participate anymore. It's simply not an option. We have everything to gain. That's the one beautiful thing about losing so much, is we have every single fucking thing to gain. And we have all the notes from all the fights and all the wars, right? That are all those civil rights wars that our people fought before us on. We have the blueprint. We just got to figure out what the 21st century element of it, which is us, what we bring to it. We have this is the great battle of beliefs. This is the great battle of beliefs. And we're going to fucking rock this house to the core. All right. I've yapped your ears off. I know. Tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll start the episode with a question because I keep missing the mark on that because I'm yapping too much. But in my defense, have you seen what's going on? They're nuts. They're absolutely fucking batshit. But you know what? Nobody does crazy better than Baby over here. Nobody. I will go girl interrupted on these motherfuckers so fast. Oh my God, I'll switch up so fast. Anyway, let me hit that outro music. I love you all so much. We got this. Trust me. We've got this. We have got this. And we are not about to allow them to build some Trump towers in fucking Gaza. I'm sorry. The Palestinian people will absolutely not allow it. And I'll be damned. I'll be damned if we do. Absolutely not. Anyway. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to Dark Woke. It means the world to me. The show really is a labor of love. New episodes drop all the times. We're available everywhere podcasts are. Just a reminder that Dark Woke is self-funded. If you love the show, please feel free to support it on Patreon as best you can. Don't forget, I want to hear from you. Drop your voice note questions to darkwokejfk@gmail.com. It's one of my favorite parts of the show. Shout out to KR and the JFK team, and shout out to you, the listeners, that make it all possible. Love you! We got this.